Hello. Okay, so let me give you a little background on this. This is an essay that was written by one of my AP students about 8 years ago. This particular student, her name was Aubriana. She was, to this day, no offense, the greatest student I've ever had. She ended up graduating third in the class. She scored a perfect 5 on the AP Language and Composition exam, and she got a scholarship to Brigham Young University. She graduated with a degree in biology, and I'm not sure, but I've heard that she's pre-med, so um, it says a lot about her. This was an assignment that I gave my AP students on the very first day of class, right after summer. They walked in, I handed them this lined paper, and I had the prompt written up on the board, and they had 55 minutes to write it. Now, this was a way of me weeding out who belonged in an AP class and who didn't. She sat there probably for a minute, and then she started constructing her essay. This is the finished product of what she had, so I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. Um, and I want you to pay close attention to her use of an extended metaphor and the fact that she's arguing her position. Now, just to kind of show you what this was about, this is what the this is what the paper was about. Um, the prompt is: does adversity help develop a person's character? Of course, one of the first things that we wanted to do was we wanted to figure out, okay, well, um, is this, does adversity help develop a person's character? So, of course, we need to figure out, okay, well, what is adversity? Adversity is difficulties and misfortune. Develop something means that you create growth, and character is the morals and mental qualities of a person. So what she did automatically was she looked up these terms and then she decided to use these terms in her opening paragraph. So let's take a look at the essay. A chunk of rock won't just carve itself into a magnificent sculpture. It needs an outside force to chip away at it with hard, unyielding tools for it to develop into something beautiful. Likewise, a person's character won't have any depth or beauty without hard work and opposing forces. While some would say that adversity is the cause for all of their sadness and misfortune, allowing themselves to be bitter, if you let the hammer of adversity pound willy-nilly on the rock of your character, then of course you are going to be weakened or maybe even broken. Being able to face the hammer and guide yourself in such a way that it enhances instead of weakens you will make your character more amazing than Michelangelo's David. Adversity is the only way growth can happen. Take the majestic redwood trees. To grow, they have to oppose gravity, and by doing so, they reach great heights and are complex organisms. Slime mold doesn't choose to oppose anything, and it only grows in small patches on the ground. It is unable to grow high and strong and is stuck being a simple organism, unable to do much else than divide cells and break down already dead organisms. Its lack of opposition stunts its ability to become complex. Growth makes people more complex, and growth cannot happen without hardship. Albert Einstein was a Jewish German scientist during World War II. While he was a genius by all rights, the adversity of the war that drove him from his homeland to America helped push him to discovering some of the biggest things in the history of man. Information about how the universe works and molecular structure, which had never been known before, was brought to light by him while he was working on the Manhattan Project. While I'm sure that his contributions to science still would have been amazing if not for the adversity of the war, he had probably wouldn't have been pushed to astronomical heights. People hardly ever do anything unless they have to. During times of prosperity, they sit back and relax, all the while stunting their own growth. Only when adversity comes do they have to reach out and push back, seeing how far they can go. New talents are discovered during hard times and can make you even better than before. You just have to not let the hammer of misfortune break you. Opposition builds a person's character. Okay, this is the essay that this particular student wrote in 55 minutes. It was one of the last periods of the day. She came in, I handed her the paper. I said, there's the prompt. You have 55 minutes to write on it. This is what she produced. I can honestly tell you this. It wasn't that she was above teaching, but I really, in a way, I just kind of stayed out of her way. She turned stuff in, I graded it. But in all honesty, she was never somebody that I called to my desk and said, hey, this is something you need to work on. I just kind of let her do her thing. She literally was in a place where she probably could have taken the AP exam the very next day and scored a 405, which are the two highest scores. So anyway, one of the things that I did want to point out about this particular essay was this. The first thing that I wanted to point out is this. All of these circled words are words that are from the prompt, whether they are defined from the words in the prompt or they are the actual words. So adversity is outside forces. She uses the word develop here. She uses the word character, which is in the prompt. Opposing forces is another word for adversity. She uses again the word character here and here. So she makes it very clear that she's writing to the prompt, which is probably the most important thing that you can do when writing an essay. The very next thing that she does is this. Okay, so she says, if you look here, that's highlighted, there's a chunk of rock won't just carve itself into a magnificent sculpture. It needs an outside force to chip away at it with hard, unyielding tools for it to develop into something beautiful. That is the hook of her essay. Okay, that's how she gets the reader interested. Her hook introduces the metaphor of the art of sculpture. Notice how she extends this metaphor throughout the essay. Another thing that she does here is she uses these two metaphors down here, hammer of adversity and rock of your character. She uses these two metaphors to extend the art of sculpture hook that she began up here. She put a counter argument in her introductory paragraph, which is a really good idea. She noticed that there's going to be a rebuttal. She addressed it first, and then she proved it wrong. She refuted it. While some would say that adversity is the cause for all of their sadness and misfortune, allowing themselves to be bitter, if you let the hammer of adversity pound willy-nilly on the rock of your character, then of course you are going to be weakened and maybe even broken. Okay, this is the beginning of a counter-argument. This is a concession. I completely understand that I'm arguing the point that there must be adversity in order for you to grow. But yes, there are some people who are victims of that adversity. They were not able to overcome it. And I'm going to acknowledge that right here before you get a chance to. So that, again, is an argumentative strategy. And then I love what she does here at the end. She says, and this is kind of her thesis statement, being able to face the hammer and guide yourself in such a way that it enhances instead of weakens you will make your character more amazing than Michelangelo's David. This is what we call an allusion. It's a reference to something well known. It's kind of like if I say, yeah, this person was taller than the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is a tall building that everybody knows. So if I use an allusion, that's another literary device that I can use in my paper to give my paper a lot more depth. So again, in Michelangelo's David, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the statue. I can't show you a picture of it because if I do, I'll get fired. But it's that very famous, very muscular statue carved from marble of David and from the Bible. And it's considered one of the most amazing statues out there, and it was by Michelangelo. And so she uses this allusion to kind of punctuate her thesis statement, which is amazing. Okay, in the same introductory paragraph, okay, all of these words that are circled in purple, these are high-level vocabulary words of imagery. They're not all words that could have been, they're not exactly words that, you had to grab a dictionary and look up, some words. It's more along the lines of these are words that could have had simpler words in there, okay? Itself into a magnificent sculpture. She could have said a great sculpture, okay? It needs an outside force to chip away at it with hard, unyielding tools. Unyielding is a great word. For it to develop into something, she could have said for it to be made into something beautiful, amazing, cool, great. She used the word likewise, which is a transition. And of course, the graders love transitions. Death, opposing, misfortune, bitter, instead of allowing themselves to be mad, allowing themselves to be angry, allowing themselves to be hateful. She uses the word bitter because it's more specific. Down here, hammer, guide yourself in such a way, she could have used another word like maybe lead. Enhances, that it enhances instead of weakens you. Amazing. These are all words, like I said, that could have very easily been substituted with simpler words. Now, I do want to point this out. She says, let the hammer of adversity pound willy-nilly. Look at the word that's circled in green. Okay, so I guess my ultimate thing is, how does the author get away with using slang words in an academic essay? Because willy-nilly isn't exactly the kind of word that you would put in an academic essay. But she gets away with it by doing this. She uses quotation marks because she's showing that she's using a word that is sort of beneath the concept of an academic essay. But what this does is this gives voice to her paper, and it allows her personality to come out in the essay. And of course, that is something that is very important for graders. The use of the quotation mark shows that she knows that the word is a non-academic word, but it is allowed for voice to be present in her essay. So that's really cool. The last thing that I wanted to point out about the introduction is this. These are 4 errors that demonstrate the essays don't have to be perfect to receive a good score. If you see here, now remember, let's cut her some slack. She had 55 minutes. She had an entire first day of school, and the last period of the day, I throw this essay at her and say, rock it, okay? So she misspells develop. The word without, she makes into 2 words, should have been 1. She adds an A to the word depth. And then down here, she uses then, T-H-E-N, instead of what should have been T-H-A-N. We use than to make comparisons. And so, those are 4 errors. But, this isn't, I'm not pointing out these errors to show that, she made mistakes. But what I am showing you is that as long as your paper reads well and has a great argument, it doesn't matter these little things like this, okay? However, if your paper is lacking in argument and you're making so many errors that they can't be ignored, then that ultimately is going to affect the score of your paper. So that's something you really need to look out for. Anyways, we are going to keep looking at this essay over the rest of this week and next week. And then, of course, if you guys don't remember, the very first week of March, you have a CSWA, and that's going to be the first test grade of next 6 weeks. And then, of course, on April 8th, you're going to take your STAR exam, and that is going to require you to write another persuasive / argumentative paper. So we're going to be looking at the best argumentative paper that I've ever seen produced from one of my students, so we can kind of give ourselves a target. Anyways, hope that you appreciated this, and let me know if you have any questions.